Hello and welcome to the RedsReport, Barnsley FC's longest running podcast. And we are proud to be part of the TalkSport Fans Network. A very serious episode this evening, purely for the fact that the funny one is not with us. He's all right, but to keep the missus happy, he's took her out for a meal. Because I think it's 2 for 1 on a Thursday, isn't it? So, yeah, Steve, if you're listening later, you were sorely missed and there won't be much humour. However, we have got the in-depth views of the one and only RedsReport. Ian, good evening, Ian. How are you?
Evening, Carlo. I'm all right, mate. I'm not too bad. Just feeling for Steve. You know, you got to keep a hungry wife happy, haven't you?
Yeah. And I'm not even going to go there because I know Jackie too well. And I might have to face him one day. Who knows? Right. Let's have a sort of like a little look back before we start talking about the FA Cup match and obviously upcoming the Derby match, or the match against Derby on Saturday. Away at Leyton Orient, obviously there was the red card, but we kept the away form that we're taking intact by getting a draw away at Leyton, which I thought was a decent result. You then have a couple of home matches. You're 3 in a row. You have Shrewsbury, Fleetwood, and Horsham. Shrewsbury on a Tuesday night, 3-0. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. And I thought the fixtures were really kind to us, thinking, right, Shrewsbury, Fleetwood. Then you've got, a ninth tier team or whatever in the FA Cup. Fleetwood was slightly different though, because the home hoodoo, whatever you want to call it, sort of continued in a 2-2 draw.
Crap form, you mean?
Well, but there is something about that home form, isn't there? On a Tuesday night, you beat, and listen, I was there, and Shrewsbury didn't offer much, but you still have to beat them, which we did. And then 3 or 4 days later, Fleetwood come to town, and it's a 2-2. What is it about that home form? Because it can't have. I know the opponent is different every week. Listen, I get it, but he's got his band of brothers that he chooses his best 11 from. How can we go from trying to turn that oil tanker of home form from a 3-0 and then drawing 2-2, and nothing against Fleetwood, but they're not one of the teams that you would thought, oh yeah, the dangerous one. This.
No, I think it was always going to be a slippy fixture on it, up against Lee Johnson, new manager bounce. You showed what they went and did a couple of days later when they got a 3-3 at home to Blackpool. So, if we'd have played them several weeks ago, we'd probably beat them quite easy. So you had that to consider. But I just feel we're probably better set up away from home. I just think at home we're too slow, we're too ponderous. It's this possession football, and teams just get behind us. Just put 2 banks of 4 in. Easy to defend against. We don't open them up, and then they've got the potential to hit us on the break. Whereas I think away from home, we're probably more inclined not to have as much of the ball. And like you look at last few seasons when we've been in League One, Stendhal, even last season as well, and even under Val. I know we're a bit more direct under Val, but we've been sides that press, that work hard, that chase everything from the front to the back, and then we hit teams. Classic example, Adam Phillips last season. He suited counter-attacking football, bit of pace on the break. This season, this possession football hasn't suited us at all. There's not the pace in the side. And I think we're just easy. When we've got all that ball, we don't know how to open the team up. And I just think at home, you're reliant on having more of the ball and doing something with it. Teams are going to come and go, right, open us up. Whereas away from home, like against Saturday, we probably won't have as much of the ball. And maybe we can hit them on the break, and probably that suits us. I think we play better with a press and play more faster up the pitch, getting up the pitch faster. And I don't just mean long ball. I mean, hitting team, because we have got some speed around the side, but I just think at home, this possession football, it goes sideways or backwards.
Yeah. And I know I don't want to, poke the bear, but is atmosphere something to do with it? Because whenever we go away, there seems to be atmosphere. The home end starts cheering, clapping, singing from minute one. We seem to thrive on that away to try and mute that noise. And I know it was Tuesday night and Saturday afternoon, the last 2 home ones, because I was away for the Horsham tie. And it just felt, dare I say, a bit stale. Like,
Yeah.
and I know it's a chicken or egg. Do
Mm.
players respond to us being that 11th man, or are we fair in saying we need something to cheer about? And
Yeah.
maybe as fans, we should say, we're going to start singing from the moment of kickoff, because we seem to make a bigger noise when Jason announced him coming out of the tunnels, and then we take kickoff, and it's like this hush
Yeah.
descends on Oakwell, and everybody is waiting for that first goal to then try and come alive, because it seems a different atmosphere at home these days. I don't know if that's to do with expectation, because first match of the season, 7-0, well, there was a decent atmosphere, wasn't there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even against Shrewsbury, and I know it's a Tuesday night, it's always a bit different, but it took 2 goals or whatever to really get people up. And, you know, is it an atmosphere question? I mean, I don't know.
No, you make a valid point, and it is the chicken and the egg, isn't it? Because fans, you want the team to get you off the seat, but also the fans have got to do a bit as well. But it's very difficult, isn't it? I think all-seater stadium has killed atmospheres. I think you look at the stewarding, the level of the stewarding, people can't stand up for 2 minutes when the team are attacking without being threatened to be slung out. You know, I just think football grounds nowadays are sanitized, aren't they?
Yeah.
With overzealous stewarding. All-seater stadium has dampened an atmosphere. You look at last season, and there was just that connection, wasn't there? You know, we had Scarf Day many a time. Maybe it was the team were playing better football. Maybe it was the team were playing well and scoring goals and at home. And you look and that then sparked the crowd. It is very much like you can't just point at one thing and say that is the problem, because there are plenty of people at Oakwell that do want to get an atmosphere going. But they're shot down by stewarding or other people who say sit down and I can't see, or, you know, keep the noise down or whatever. And it is very, very difficult. There's no real answer. But I think away from home, I think we've discussed this on previous podcasts. I do think the away support are a lot more patient with the team as well. Classic example was Exeter away. If that had been 0-0, they wouldn't have got booed off. I mean, obviously the last minute goal were brilliant, but if that had been 0-0 at Oakwell, it would have been a very different atmosphere, I would probably suggest.
I listen, everybody has opinions and they're all valid because they're people's opinions. I still believe that when people go to an away match, no matter where it is, they go for a day out in football, or the match is almost a byproduct, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, the people like yourself going to Derby, you know, you're looking forward to quality time with your lad, maybe go and get a drink somewhere or get a quick snack, like a burger and chips and whatever. And then you go into the stadium, but you've already had some, you know, it's just the cherry on the cake, isn't
also, there's the us against the world type mentality as well, isn't it? Because although we've sold quite a lot of tickets and we've sold, I think, over 2,300 tickets, you're still going to be in a ground that's probably got nearly 30,000, 20,000. So you'll make more noise because you're in that corner. And you know, like whereas at Oakwell, you can get teams coming with a couple of hundred who can outsing Oakwell. It's probably symptomatic of a lot of grounds. It's not just a Barnsley problem, but there's a number of things you can look at, can't you? With that, it is, and I think if the team come out the traps at home first 10, 15 minutes, then everybody reacts, don't they, and they get them off the seat. But playing this possession football, that's not happening, is it?
No. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. That won't be the picture Steve puts in our WhatsApp group of his onion rings in the next 15, 20 minutes. But, you know, that FA Cup match, we've talked often about, you know, the beauty of the FA Cup, the fairy tales, the David versus Goliath. And it served us well in recent years. You know, Liverpool, Chelsea, you know, seasons before that, Man United. I would have thought we would have had a nightmare against Horsham, though, mate, to be fair.
It was another. Did I message when the goals were going in? I think I messaged and I went, "This is another barrel. This 5-4. You have to bring all your better players on to win the game." And it is all of them things, isn't it? It's David Goliath. It's maybe it was a strong enough side that Collins put out. You know, are they? Our lads took the foot off the ball. They're absolutely buzzing. They get one goal and that's it. Then you're on the hiding to nothing. But come on, you should still be able to navigate at home as well a game like that and see it through, even if it's a bit, you get through it, just scare, a bit of a scare, but you get through it, don't you? And the goals that were conceded were just schoolboy, weren't they? They made Horsham look like Brazil.
Yeah, well, you look at the lineup.
Fair play to Horsham, I can't take anything away from him.
Listen,
fair play to him.
After the decision by South Yorkshire Police to put it on the Friday,
poor decision.
Secretly, you probably thought, it'd be really nice to get to a draw just for that club, and if we win it away, because the away form hopefully will come into account again. But you look at the lineup: Killipingol, who's obviously number one after operation. Williams, Mail, Dejivny, and Jamie McCart. Okay, midfield: O'Keefe, Styles, Kane, and Dodson. I mean, up front, you've got three, haven't you? You've got Watters, McAtee, and Jallo. So that's not a bad side. You could argue that Jallo hasn't got much first team football, but he is obviously playing for Portugal under 19.
Well, he's getting plenty of football, and look what he's doing.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly. But then, and I'm not in the habit of publicly, like on a podcast, slating players to a point. But when somebody tweeted, which is right, everybody knew, if you did any sort of looking into Horsham, you knew the two players that were going to be dangerous. The two players that had the pace for Horsham and everything. You'd like to think that as full-time professionals, we will be prepared for that. And then you see a tweet saying that one of our players been given the runaround by a postman. It's sort of, is that a mentality thing of we're at home? It's Horsham.
Quite possibly.
Is it that? Because you would have hoped that the head coach would have put in, I don't care if you play Horsham, Higham, or Hotspur. I want 100%. You know what I mean? And the biggest compliment you can pay Horsham is by putting a full strength side out to say, I'm taking this serious. We need to win this. Were there any positives from that match besides probably Fabio Jallo scoring a fantastic goal and showing what he's able to do? Because I'm not saying it's embarrassing, because it is the FA Cup. And if it was anywhere else, you'd be saying, oh my God. If you lose the bottom of the table, oh my God. It is the FA Cup. They were clearly up for this. They prepared, they knew. But is there any positives to get from this? Because it's another match in a schedule that's quite tight anyway.
Yeah. I pulled, bizarrely, I pulled 3 positives out, Carlo. Would you believe? So you mentioned
90th minute whistle.
Final whistle were one of them. No, I think you've mentioned one in Fabio Jallo. I mean, what a goal. What a prospect that lad is. And I'd love to see him nearer the first team squad more often. Don't get me wrong, I don't expect him to start against Derby, but when you look at what Cosgrove hasn't done anything, Watters still hasn't really done anything, McCart is in and out, you look and think, this lad deserves a shirt or a bit more of a run out in the first team. So that was a positive. Luca Connell coming back was a massive positive. And then I would probably say it was nice to see us score some headed goals for once. We tend to put some decent balls in, certainly like Cadden's capable of it. We put some great balls in, but we very rarely score headed goals. And I was like, oh, it really kind of jumped out at me that we were putting them away, putting these crosses away. So they were 3 positives for me. I might be clutching at straws, but I took 3 positives.
No,
6 negatives, but 3 positives.
I was listening to BBC Radio Sheffield because we were away. And when we scored on like 14, 13 minutes, whatever it was, I went, it's not good. It's too early, isn't it? I'd much rather struggle and then score just before half time.
Yeah. Not the stuffing out of them.
Well, yeah, you sort of, it's like
game management.
Like in the wild, when a tiger goes for its prey, never kills it immediately. It toys with it, it flushes it around a bit, and then bang, the final one. And it's like,
they did that to us, didn't they?
Well, yeah, because then they took the lead and then they scored again.
Yeah.
How does that? Because obviously that gets a lot of press. Not so much because we've drawn it, more that Horsham, obviously they get the replay, which is on Tuesday, ITV4, so everybody can watch it. What do you think that does to the players, though? Because next up is, a difficult away trip at Derby. One side, that good thing says, oh, but our away form is really good. But on that side, I think, but you couldn't beat bloody Horsham. Like, you know what I mean? How does that? What does Nick Collins need to do to avoid those sort of results? So, is it the case of now Connell's back will be a different team? We're not a one-man team, but it does make a difference, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And if he is back, Jallo is away with Portugal again, I think, isn't it? Is he back again? Who do you like to come and who comes in to start on Saturday and who loses out for you?
It's difficult, isn't it? We've said, I suppose, reaction-wise, you hope that they've put it in on the training ground. It's difficult. We've often said we don't know, like Neil Collins doesn't know his best 11. And I think it's a fair argument. However, spin it the other way, and I would say, I don't know what our best 11 is.
No.
You know, and I've quoted a couple of players. You look at Cadden, as certainly defensively. I think it was the first goal, Fleetwood, I think. He was at fault for he didn't track back enough. Yeah. And the winger overtook him and scored. But he's great going forward. Cotter can be in and out. O'Keefe. I've mentioned the strikers who have all been a bit hit and miss. Had it not been for Liam Roberts, some of his saves and Devante Cole's goals, where would we be? So it's no wonder we don't know our best 11, and therefore you're asking me who do we pick on Saturday? We know who's probably going to play. There's a stable 6 or 7.
Yeah,
but then the others, too many are not taking the shirt. They're not taking that opportunity, are they? To really grasp, you could say Phillips or Russell can be in and out. Does Connell I don't know how fit Connell is. He'll have had another week on the training ground, but I would still imagine he can't do 90 minutes yet. Certainly not at Derby away. But it honestly, Carlo, it's a bit of a lottery for me. Too many. We're now in November, and too many form's been patchy at best.
Yeah. One, I suppose, light during those times when at home was struggling, has to be our French number 6, who had a nightmare start to a season in a red shirt or a black shirt or a one with stars on. But he got that goal against Horsham, and he looks that he has the capabilities and the skills to be a huge fans' favourite in seasons to come, hasn't he? Because he seems now making the right decision, positive going forward when he's able to do so, reminding us at times of how Liam Kitchen sometimes made those sort of darting runs. Intelligent in defence, not taking any risks. It's a stark difference from his first appearance, isn't it?
Oh, massively, yeah. And to be fair, we have actually highlighted that on these podcasts. We have actually praised him and said how, like I say, you couldn't have had a worse start. Plus, he's moving to a new country, a new club, all that kind of stuff does impact people and the form, etc. But yeah, fair play to the lad. Big test on Saturday for him if he's picked. I think that'll be a real. I think that could be a good yardstick about where he is.
Yeah,
you've got that Mendes Lang who's quick. They've struggled out. It's been a very odd form this season, Derby. I really expected a lot more from them, but they've still got the players. They've still got the personnel who can hurt you on the day, and it'd be interesting to see how he plays on Saturday. Be a real yardstick to see. Not that it'll be the end of the world if he doesn't have a great game, because he has done well, but I think that'll be a good test for him on Saturday. That.
Yeah, and their form is sort of like opposite to ours a little bit, isn't it? Like, they went away to Stevenage and lost 3-1. They win 4-0 at home against Northampton. In the FA Cup, they draw with Crewe, 2-2 away. But then in the EFL Trophy, 4-1 again at home. So their home record. So they've got a decent home record. Our away record is decent. And obviously in the table, Barnsley's 5th, they're 7th, and there's 3 points between us. So for two teams that were probably picked as not ones to watch, but the ones that will be, fighting for those places at the top, doing all right. Obviously, Portsmouth still sit pretty. You talked about Connell earlier, though. If you look at like the formation he went with, who makes plays for Connell if you're going to play him, if you're going to start him, for instance?
Wouldn't surprise me, and I think there might be an argument for playing Russell and Connell at Derby, two deeper sitting midfielders. Push Kane further up and maybe drop Phillips, because you're going to want to play Callum Styles, because he's not available for the Carlisle game in a week or two, is he? So you want to play him now. And I think there's an argument for probably trying to play it a bit tighter and maybe have Russell in there with a bit of physicality with Connell.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't surprise, a bit more of an insurance policy for the back three. Yeah. I would suggest. But yeah, go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm going to say about the form. You're right. I've read tonight what Paul Warner said about the threat that we pose, and he's been complimentary about us, and that, you know, in our DNA, so I think we're always a club that is always one to watch when we're in this league, and constantly, whoever's the manager, we're constantly up there and pushing. So he sees us as a threat. He's seen us twice live, apparently. I don't know which games he's watched. Like he could be Jekyll and Hyde, couldn't it? You might think this will be easy, lads, but then he's watched the wrong games. But yeah.
Who would you partner up front? Because Devante Cole starts. Who are you going to partner? Because
in an ideal world, I stick Jallow in there, but I just don't think he's going to do it. And you know, you chuck a 17-year-old lad in at Derby away, you might think I'm talking nonsense, but he's brilliantly unpredictable, isn't he? And he's fearless. Having said that, I don't think he probably will start. He's probably going to go with the usual, with Waters or something, isn't he? I would suspect, and McAtee off the bench, and Cosgrove off the bench. If I was a betting man, I think he'd go Waters and Cole, I think.
Yeah. It's different, because Shrewsbury, I was so impressed with McAtee. He was like, how can I explain? He was like one of them.
Yeah, because when he's on his game,
that were wired up to the mains. Like, he just seemed to have, like, I can't say that, it's not appropriate. But he was like, you know, like I work in a school and you've got some kids that are at it 100% of the time, bundles of energy. And he reminded me, because he was chasing down, and even if they played it back to the keeper, he was, a lot of our possession came from him chasing from the front and blocking things and everything else.
And we're going to need that on Saturday.
Yeah, well, and I think him and Cole is slightly different, probably. And do you go for somebody like Cosgrove, somebody who's got the physicality, big, messes people about, but then you think, not really done as I know, not really done as much. Do you go for somebody like Wattis, who's got that physicality as well, but he's sometimes a fine line? So it's difficult, isn't it? Jallow, I agree though. He is fearless, and what a quality to have.
Yeah, and it's a proper head scratcher. It really is. And I'm sure any other fans who are listening will probably have their own take on it. McAtee, I've seen him in games where he's won us games and he's changed a game, and that. And then other days where he's just been fairly anonymous. He's not done the right lot, or it's not come off for him. I'm not criticising him as in his attitude or anything, but it just hasn't clicked, and like it hasn't particularly clicked for Waters, even though he's picked a couple of goals. He's not exactly set the world on fire with his performances. So he does a bit of running off the ball and stuff, but as a striker, what he's brought here to do, like Cole will score goals, Waters isn't. So it's a proper head scratcher, that. Like I say, good shout to put McAtee in. It really is, because I think he's the quality is easily championship quality. But we just need some of these strikers to come into form with Cole, don't we? Because otherwise, it could be quite a successful league. Because I still don't think this league is a very strong league.
No, it's not. Just a quick final word, and you're going to Derby. I know we've been sort of off air a bit, but there's been lots happening, and my voice is still not back fully. But you know what? We're here. If there's one thing that can entertain us, it is Barnsley fans on social media. And whilst we're not out pointing out certain tweets or whatever, every opinion is valid because it's somebody's opinion. And I think that has to always be a starting point. The problem sometimes is when people then start a healthy argument, but have you thought of this? People either shut down or start throwing adjectives that we're not using in this podcast. And then I sort of think, that's like poking the bear and running off, isn't it? Like, we're all adults. And if somebody doesn't have the same opinion, then that's fine, isn't it? Like, that's absolutely fine. In the stadium, if Williams has got the ball, somebody on this side can be shouting, "Get it forward!" and then somebody else says, make a run, and somebody else says,
Yeah.
play it, because everybody has different ideas. One thing, again, this week, the news came out that Khaled, CEO, is leaving us at the end of this season to go over to America and take up a position there. And again, the fan base never let us down. Again, it's a game of opinions. I just think I look, and I know it's different because he's the other, but I look at Sheffield Wednesday and what they're going through at the moment, off the pitch and on the pitch.
Yeah.
Beware what you wish for. I know we're still waiting for this big news, right? I know that, but it doesn't keep me up. And I know some people might have, season ticket sales and everything else, and maybe looking back, it wasn't a good move. You know what? Van Mansford came in and wanted to change the flipping logo of our football club. That wasn't a good move, but he was still a decent CEO, wasn't he? Be careful what you wish for, isn't it? Because ultimately, you could get somebody who doesn't believe in fan engagement. You could get somebody who doesn't understand the DNA of this town and the fans and what the club means to us. Your thoughts on Khaled leaving?
Well, I never met the man, so I can't say personally what he's like. I've never been in a room with him or anything like that and made the fans forum. So I can only go off what I've watched and heard. I think he's tried. I think he's had his heart in the right place. He's certainly tried to have that engagement. Yes, he's dropped a couple of clangers. We know that. No one's perfect. We all do that every day of the week in our jobs and stuff. But I was looking at the comments and there was no complimentary ones at all, and quite a lot wanted Dane back. I think unfortunately, I think his era, his time at the club is probably tarnished, especially with the big news debacle. Only time will tell if he was any good. If we get a replacement, and you have, like you say, you're right. You've got to be careful what you wish for. We could get somebody in who hasn't got a clue about the club, the town, or football or anything, and could be 10 times worse. Yeah. However, I'm sure we can do better. I'm sure his heart's been in the right place and he's tried, but I think too often he's been too keen. My interpretation. I think he's been too keen to jump to big headlines, wanting to give the fans something. Because to be fair, the fans are always screaming for something every minute of every day. They want news out of the club. And I think he's been too quick to jump to it and try and please them. And then it's backfired a few times, hasn't it? Quite mixed. Nothing personal against him. But I think it unfortunately, I think it's become a little bit of a laughing stock certainly on social media.
Well, apparently, Alan Smith from Red All Over is favourite at 6-4 to take over. So, which is great because there'll always be tea and coffee in the fan zone. So everybody's happy on the, you know what I mean? Just finally, he's got our backing. You're going to Derby on Saturday, so I need a score prediction, please.
God, I knew you'd ask this.
We've been doing this long enough, mate.
I know, yeah, true. I should know. It's not the best of grounds for us, is it?
No. I'll go first. 2-2.
Go on. Oh, I'm just going to say 2-2.
You can.
Jammy sod. I can't go. I was either going to go 2-2 or 2-0 Barnsley. I'm going to have to stick my neck on the line now and go 2-0 Barnsley.
You heard it here first. You heard it here. Remember those words.
Shoot me down at 5 o'clock on Saturday.
The away form continues for Barnsley with a well-deserved 2-0 victory away at Derby. You have been listening to the Reds Report with Ian and Carlo, and we will be back next week.